July the 11th, 2019. Guys, I want to go over some of the details on this storm that we're watching now. The changes basically are it's still out in the Gulf of Mexico. It has increased the wind speed from 30 to 35 miles per hour as far as sustained winds. It is not moving west-southwest, dipping into the Gulf now. It's moving west, and it's slowed down from 7 to 5 miles per hour. The curve is going to bring it ashore according to the models, and that's the center of this blue cone would be kind of the predicted path. And some of the models are showing it go straight up the Mississippi River, guys. We'll just see that it's going to change right up until an hour or two before it makes landfall, but all the models are narrowing it down to this, so they're starting to really pay attention to it, and so should you. Now, this could be good news for a lot of the panhandle. You're going to have some winds, wind gusts, and things like that. But this chart, what we're looking at right now, is called wind threat. Now, remember, there's tropical storm warnings, hurricane watches, and things like that up all along this area. It would be a great idea to evacuate. Just point blank, get up if you can. If you can't, catch a ride. If you're anywhere in the low-lying flood areas, especially, because you're going to create a life-threatening situation for yourself and whoever's trying to come rescue you. And, there's going to be folks out there that not only, federal people trying to help, but also there's local folks like the Cajun Navy, etc. So just make it easy on yourself and anybody else. Don't try to ride this out, guys. It's been a crazy weather year, so don't be a part of that. But in the red area that you see here, and this is wind threat map, you have the potential for 74 to 110 mile per hour winds. So let's look at that a moment, just so you realize what you're dealing with, guys. If you've never been in one of these storms, most of everybody in Louisiana that's lived there for even a year understand exactly what's going on, but this thing's going to move up looks like up the Mississippi River. But as a Cat 1, 74 to 95 miles per hour. Very dangerous winds will produce some damage. Well-constructed frame homes could have damage to roofs, shingles, vinyl siding, and gutters. Large branches of trees will snap, and shallowly rooted trees may be toppled. Extensive damage to power lines and poles likely will result in power outages that could last a few to several days. Think about that, guys, when you're thinking about staying. And then it says it could peak up to 110, and that's what they're calling extremely dangerous. Winds will cause extensive damage, not produce some damage. Well-constructed frame homes could sustain major roof and siding damage. Many shallow-rooted trees will be snapped or uprooted and block numerous roads. Near total power loss is expected with outages that could last from several days to weeks. So, guys, keep that in mind. Then, as you come out of the red area and go into this orange section, now this is your sustained winds. You're going to have gusts that possibly higher than that, but you're going to be dealing with winds from 58 to 73 miles an hour. 73 is just below that Cat 1, which starts at 75, and you start seeing power outages and damage. And the thing here is that the flooding could be devastating. It's already been raining for a few days, guys. The ground's starting to saturate. These shallow-rooted trees and things like that could become dangerous. And I saw two different tornado warnings pop up yesterday as the storm was moving through. That's because it's so hot. Right now at 8:52 a.m., my weather station showing 77 because of cloud cover with 93% humidity. 87 is a real feel, and as it gets later in the day and the sun starts getting on top of these clouds, it's going to change again. Now, the other main problem, we got a storm surge, and this map shows, as of current conditions, that from south of Lafayette through Morgan City, Houma, up under New Orleans, the entire Mississippi River Peninsula, all the way up to south of Slidell, and that's kind of the entrance to, Bourne Lake, guys, up into Lake Pontchartrain. You've got a potential for storm surge there greater than 3 feet. Remember, the river was supposed to crest this week at 19 feet in New Orleans. The lowest sections of the levee are 20, but yesterday they changed it to 20 feet for the crest. So you got the storm surge pushing up the river and up to 3 feet. You can see the potential for a lot of flooding in that area. Now, in the yellow areas north of there, it's a potential for storm surge flooding greater than 1 foot above the ground. So think about where you're at, bayous and in the marshes, guys. All those areas are going to be probably you're going to lose a lot of access because of the roads being flooded. So just keep that in mind, and you know you're going to lose power. It's almost inevitable. So I know some of you have generators, so be prepared if you're going to stay and use generators, have the extra fuel you need. But guys, water is the critical thing. If you've ever been like we were for 2 weeks in Katrina with no power, and then we live in the country, and this community has one of the tall water tower tanks like many do, but it relied on an electric pump. So there was no water either. Guys, you can't make it without water. You got 3 days. That's it. So you've got to be prepared for that. And that's why I'm saying it's not a good place to be staying unless you're an ultra prepped and have a very stable environment, a very stable home. It's just not a good idea. There's going to be a lot of rescues, and they were talking about that yesterday. Now, I'm going to get to the radar, guys, but these charts that I'm showing you are the critical data you need to understand, because we know what a storm would do. But let's look at this a minute. And this is flooding rain threat. Now, let's start right at the top, these purple areas. Right in this section here, a little further south, potential for extreme flooding rain. Surrounded by the red area, potential for major flooding rain. Coming into the orange area, moderate flooding, and then all north of there, potential for localized flooding rain. You're going to have those flash floods and things like that north of here, but this extreme flooding rain, guys, is going to be critical because we really got a break with the Shafalai Basin a month ago when they didn't have to open it and flood all the farmland and all the wildlife areas. But that may change. But we do know we're going to have some problems in New Orleans. So you guys think about it. Don't be a victim. Katrina caught everyone off guard with that turn and the power. Now, we're not going to see a Katrina, but the Mississippi River has been flooded for months. That's going to be the critical difference here. Now, this is the only chart that I don't totally agree with, guys, simply because we've already seen outbreaks of tornadoes. But they're saying this entire area that encompasses southeastern Louisiana through a good part of Mississippi and over into Alabama, right into Pensacola, potential for a few tornadoes. I think with our heat, that will change. But what we'll do is just kind of keep an eye on it, guys, when I can get in here and look at it and keep an eye on these tornado warnings popping up. But go to the National Hurricane Center that's on our website at BPEarthWatch. You can go in there and watch for that. You can actually subscribe to some of the events. So and have your weather radio ready. Now, we're looking at NOAA wind, and if you look on our website in the column on the left, it's there. And this is a very good indicator of where we have low pressure rotation. Notice in the Atlantic, guys, this is the third day in a row that I pointed out the system that came off of Africa. Pay attention to it. But here's the center of rotation of the storm we're watching right here. Again, it's not a tropical storm yet. It's just sitting there taking its time. Right now, 35 miles an hour. I mentioned this earlier. The millibar pressure has changed. I think it was 111 yesterday, so that's dropping. That's critical at 105. It's moving west, not west-southwest. But, guys, here is why I've been watching it. Now, the National Hurricane Center is starting to pay attention to it. I'm trying to teach them. But anyway, 10% chance of cyclone formation in 5 days. Tropical wave located several hundred miles southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands is producing disorganized shower activity. Now, we don't know how strong this will become or if it even makes it all the way through the dust cloud. But again, I saw the potential, what's today, the 11th, back I think on the 9th, if you look at the videos. It was coming off of Africa, and I was saying if it could get a break in that dust there, the Saharan dust, that it may continue through here. Now, it's still surrounded, but it kind of keeps on churning here. And there's been a couple of light showers over the Saharan desert, very light, but that does reduce some dust. Now, let's look at the, this is infrared at night, and you can see the sun rising. It will change to real images. But you can see where it's trying to wrap with thunderstorms around it. You had the cooling effect at night. But now that it's slowed down 2 miles an hour, the pressure's dropping, and that's what storms do, guys. But look at where the heavier rains are. They're south of Louisiana, and they're starting to wrap on the west side. The heat of the day is going to bring all of this alive. The models are kind of tightening up from just through, really the central part of the models is the Mississippi River, which is the border between Louisiana and Mississippi. Cat 1 coming ashore Saturday, 2 a.m. now at 75 miles an hour. It was good. Remember, it was rated to come in the p.m. at 85 miles an hour, but it's not staying out as long. So it's going to turn in quicker. It's going to come in at night. Not good. Here are the Canadian models, and you can see the storm as it rotates back. We'll let the model rotate back around. But they're pretty much lined up with the National Hurricane Center. You can see it turn into Louisiana there and move right up the river as far as the center of the low pressure system. Also, the Atlantic storm is struggling through here. But if you watch it at the bottom in the green, move across there, that's the lowest pressure in the Atlantic. Comes through the islands there, struggling. But when you get out this far in time, we have no idea what will happen. But it is forming, and you can see that if it was not for that dust, we would have a major hurricane on our hands. We still may. But guys, we're watching this. We'll check on the updates. Just keep your heads up. Be safe.